Hello, everybody. Doing the first podcast today about ghosting, and this is Tiffany Conley. I've known her for years, and I've watched her transform herself. And she went from a single mom learning about life to a six-figure businesswoman, and she's happily married. She attracted a tall, handsome, intelligent man into her life, and she's really a good example for everyone. And I'd like everyone to meet Tiffany.
Hello, thank you for having me, Dewey. I am really excited to be on today to talk to you guys about just love, and we're gonna add in some health and just some things that I live by, what got me to where I am in my love story. And I can't wait, but I have known Dewey for quite some time, and thank you for having me on. I'm really excited. He has transformed his life as well, going from a teen, living life, having so much fun, to realizing his purpose here, and ran into some health issues and has really started to dig in to how to heal the body through nutrition and diet change, and really experiencing the healing that's come from that, and has a passion to allow others to hear what he's learned.
Sweet. Okay. So as everybody's noticed, dating has kind of changed over the past few years. You know, social media. I'm 36, so things have changed since I was 20 to now. We didn't have heavily social media. Facebook was relatively new. MySpace was, we didn't really know what we were doing. Didn't know how to post things without considering the future. Anything. It's been a learning curve.
Absolutely.
But it's a whole different world for people in their 20s right now, coming into dating. And so how do you think dating has changed with the advent of social media?
Definitely, I feel like, in our era, because I'm 36 too, so in our era, it was, person to person, but nowadays, and back then, it was like dating online was just, you can't date anybody online, it's scary, and yeah, it was weird. But more so today, that's happening, and you hear it. I met my husband from social media, and to be quite honest, we normally, our subconscious mind goes for looks and that initial sight, rather than initial from the heart. So we go off of looks in the very beginning, and even in person to person. Would I have picked my husband out of a crowd or, a list of men on social media that was given to me and said, hey, you could find your boyfriend here in this list, all single men? No, I went on a blind date. So yeah, I can't wait to dig into that, because that's my thing on that.
Sweet.
Yeah. Kind of crazy, huh?
It is very interesting, and I'm very happy for you, because
you.
I think you found a good person. I think you've grown a lot as a person, and I think you set a good example for young women that are hoping to find a partner in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about that.
Sweet. So now what we're here for, the attention getter, is ghosting. Why do men and women ghost nowadays? I hear it's common. People complain about it. I have some experiences with this as well, on both ghosting and being ghosted, and I don't think everybody understands why they're being ghosted. I think most people don't really think too much about why they ghost somebody. So it'll just bring a little bit of clarity and help people understand different points of view and things people might not be willing to say to them. So we can learn from each other about that. And I was going to let you go first. Why do you think that some women ghost men sometimes?
Well, I think looking back in my past experiences, sometimes we may hear something or see something and be like, that is not my person. And rather than having the respect and saying, hey, this didn't align with me, or I can't really see myself long term, that it's an easier way out, rather than having the respect and going to someone and saying, hey, this is something that didn't align with me. And then giving that person the option or the availability to come back and tell them their point of view of it, or I'm sorry you've seen that, but that's not how I intended it to come across or be, or whatever that may be. Because quite frankly, we tend to attract or go towards relationships or people that we've been surrounded around as children. And we tend to fall back into that, regardless of whether we wanted to partake in a relationship that we've seen or grown up in a home around, whether it's abuse or physical abuse, mental abuse, all those things. And sometimes either you see a trait and is like, ooh, and they don't want to respectively come out and give that opposite person a heads up, or they see something that they're not used to. In my instance, with who now is my husband, I was not used to a ladies' man, meaning open the car door. I was always the person to take care of and to fix, okay? And so initially I tried to push him away. But because we're married today, was a very close friend that not only connected with me, but connected with him, and was able to kind of talk to him about who I am, how I am, because we didn't get to that level yet. And so I put the reason why we are together and married today is because of her. Because she was able to dissect that. And when he was like backed off, that's when I sat back and I was like, wait a minute, where'd he go? And then I stepped forward and he felt like he kind of lost me there for a minute. But then I finally realized, no, this is the man that's supposed to be a part of my life. And because I was never used to it, I pushed it away because that's, again, not what I'm used to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does, especially what you said about childhood relationships and the type of relationships we track as an adult. I really resonate with that, and I've seen that in my own experience and observed that in others as well. And I think that's a big factor, and you know, you're the mindset coach. So no matter what reasons I list for ghosting, it's still, a lot of it comes down to mindset of what you attract. And if you have the right mindset, it's probably not going to really bother you as much if you do get ghosted, but also you'll be less likely to attract those situations or those people. But that's something we all got to work on as we're growing and healing, is working on our mindset to have a healthier outlook on things.
Yeah, and like I said, we tend to lean on our past trauma, and every single person has had past trauma, and you've got to decipher that and let it go, because if not, you'll tend to, maybe your dad cheated on your mother most of their life, and so you ultimately think that a male is going to do the same to you. And you have to take yourself out of that and know that if that does happen, it's something that you've got to work through and go through it, but not expect it and not put that block up either, because that's a lesson that you have to go through. So the next person that you do become in a relationship with, you know, not to, you know, relationships built on trust first and foremost. And if you don't walk into a relationship trusting that person because of your past trauma, you've already harmed that relationship.
That's true.
So you've got to let go of your past. So you can't even be in a relationship with someone unless you love yourself first, because you can't love somebody else. So you got to learn to love yourself and let go of everything you hold on to from, maybe it's disappointments from your past or whatever. Let that go, because you'll never be able to thrust forward being a changed person. So change yourself, love yourself, and then try to date.
That's really great advice. Do you think it's possible to heal yourself and change yourself while you're dating?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you've got to have a sense of worthiness first and foremost before you step into that, because if you feel unworthy in many aspects, it's going to leak out into your relationship.
Right. I think it's possible, but it makes it a lot more difficult to heal while you are in a relationship dynamic. But it actually shows you areas that you need to heal when you're in a relationship dynamic. Like I took a year from dating, and I really worked a lot on myself. Then I started talking to somebody again after a year, and it was like, oh my gosh, I still need to work on this, this, and this. So, while I was able to improve myself completely separate from having a relationship, starting to date again really showed me what I still have left to work on. You know, so yeah, I think it's a little bit of a yes and no. Like it's easier to work on yourself outside of dating.
Yes.
But you don't necessarily see everything you need to work on without reflecting off of somebody else or putting yourself in those situations where you can become aware of like, am I behaving this way because of my childhood drama? Am I attracting this situation because of childhood drama? Does that mean I still have to heal from this? I still have to work? Or maybe I just need to be more picky and realize that I am attracting this because of childhood trauma and I need to avoid it and consciously choose something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that really helped me in an area of my life, and I do it within my business, I do it in all aspects of my life, is when I was younger, I always heard, and this is almost kind of like law of attraction, whatever your beliefs are. For me, I have a relationship with God, but is taking that dream husband or that dream relationship and what you want, and you got to get down to like the simplest things, 50-50 on housework. You know, do you want that person to be the financial caregiver? Like everything, you make that list, what you don't want into someone, and you have I want and I don't want, and you live by that list. Are there things that you can ultimately live with for other things? Only you know that, right? But the main, like, star the main things that you know you can't live without. Non-negotiables, absolutely. And the other things you can negotiate about and work together as a couple as they come along. That's what a marriage is like, right? And I'll say me and my husband has had to go through those things ourselves. And not every marriage is perfect. Not every, everybody's going to have things that they got to work through. Not everybody's going to be perfect, but those non-negotiables, if you're 3 months in, or you're 5 months in, you're a year in, because for me, I was like, is this too good to be true? And there was still bricks that I had to knock down a week before my wedding within myself that I held on to, and it's like, okay, finally I can just break it down and be myself and not think that this is too good to be true type thing, and it really helped even our relationship moving into our marriage. So, yeah.
Wow. That's empowering to hear that it is possible, and thank you for sharing your wisdom on the subject. I think that's great advice. Find your non-negotiables, and what's not non-negotiable you can work through, but it gives you that basics that you need in a relationship, because everybody is different. Everybody has different non-negotiables. Not everybody wants somebody that is a provider, or you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's different for everyone. So that's a very great point.
Well, there it goes back to the mind too. Say if you are in a relationship and you truly love that person, like there's no red flags, there's none this, but you've lived on your own for a very long time, and this person moves in with you and they leave the toilet seat up, and it's something small like that, but the more you ponder on it, the more you allow it to bug you, then it's going to become a issue that could potentially separate you, because you're nitpicking at the things that ultimately you could live with. For the bigger things, the love, how you're treated, how you're, all of those things. And if you ponder and put all of your thoughts in those nitpicky things, then you're going to create a wedge that you're never going to be able to mend back.
Very good points.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Any more reasons why women might ghost men?
No, I think those are good.
Sweet. I think you shared a lot of insight and a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, probably went more deeper than.
I mean, it's really perfect because, I mean, these are all things that people are wanting to learn and have questions about, and not everybody has the experience to know what you're sharing with us.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go over some reasons why men might ghost women, and like I said, a lot of it is more to do with mindset, whether you attract these things or not, and these are not all deal breakers for everyone. Like, let's say, first one, say I met a girl on Tinder and all of her pictures, she looks a certain way, and then I meet her in person, and it's like, really, she's like 50, 60 pounds heavier than she looked in any of the pictures. And that's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's, for some people it can be. For some people they'll be like, you know what, I don't want to do it. I don't want to hurt her feelings and tell her that, you know, she doesn't meet my standard in that area. It's easier just not to say anything than to hurt her feelings. And that's one thing that, I mean, nobody wants to hurt a woman's feelings. So I think that's a big part of why women get ghosted sometimes, is men don't really want to offend them or make themselves look like the bad guy or cause an argument that's unnecessary and won't lead anywhere. Another thing is like body count. Say you meet a girl, you really like her, everything's going well, then you talk to your buddy, and then you find out he's already been with her, and then you find out this person has already been with her, and I mean, nowadays a lot of people just accept that as normal, but some people, men particularly, are more bothered by that, I think, than women, because men value purity while women value experience. So women, as much as they say they want a guy that doesn't talk to anybody else, they don't want a guy that can't get any girl at all, and they don't want a guy who doesn't know how to perform. Like, what a guy would be just fine if his girl doesn't have a lot of sexual experience. It's probably preferred rather than a bother. And like I said, sometimes that's not a deal breaker, but sometimes for a relationship it might be. Somebody might really like you and think, oh, she's wifey material, I want to be in a relationship with her, and then you find out a bunch of things about the past, and you know, everybody has their different level of tolerance for that. So that could be one reason somebody just decides, you know what, I don't even want to message her back, that's too much, I can't get it out of my head that she messed with these people I know, or whatever stories you heard. Another thing is like attitude. Say I do tree removal, it's physically exhausting, I work really hard, and I was dating this girl years back, and I was like, you really don't have to work that much, you could stay with me, but I need your help with like administrative tasks. I want to do this in real estate, would you go help me look at some places, list some places, blah blah blah. She just had a bad attitude, and obviously I didn't ghost her, but from my experiences with that attitude, you work hard all day, you try to provide for somebody, do everything for them, and they just act like you're nothing. Like, why should I contribute anything? Why should I help you? I mean, that gets old. Nobody really likes a bad attitude, and I think there's a lot of guys out there that would love to protect and provide for their woman, but sometimes I think a lot of the modern women think it's makes them strong or empowered to argue a lot, and I think it's very unattractive. I think a man that is actually putting out effort and working to make your life better is not going to want to put all that effort to make your life better if you're just making his life worse, giving a headache, and unwilling to contribute to the household or the team, or it's a team sport. So a lot of times attitude is reason you just be like, I can't just deal with that attitude. My cousin, when I asked about ghosting on Facebook, said this girl was too bougie for him. And I don't know, in my head, I picture her wanting her nails done. He's young, maybe he's hardworking, but he's new in his career, and I don't know. So it's one thing for a man to be a provider, that's traditional male role. But then if women are not fulfilling any sort of traditional female roles, like why does he want to work hard and pay for her to get her nails done if she's not contributing anything for him? Like, I've paid for girls to get their nails done, but it's got to be teamwork. Like, if you're not contributing anything to my life, am I going to keep paying for you to get your nails done? Am I going to keep taking you out to dinner? Am I going to keep doing things for you? It's got to be reciprocated,
50-50.
Yeah, and it's not always got to be you got to cook and clean and do this and that. Like, sometimes it could just be positive feedback. Like, it goes back to attitude thing. Like, I don't want to just argue all the time. And so the nails done, that's kind of financial expectations, which I put down. Some people have different financial expectations. And here's the reason that I don't know if I necessarily ghosted people, but decided not to continue pursuit of several women because, I don't know, for me, I feel like to talk to a certain caliber or class of women, I need to make a certain amount of money. And I feel like somebody that makes less than $100,000 a year, some of these women I'm very interested in are just out of my category. I cannot provide the lifestyle they want. Maybe they live in California, maybe they live in Miami. But I can't provide the type of lifestyle they want. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not calling women gold diggers. I'm not saying anything like that. But for me to feel good about myself, I have to be able to provide for the woman I'm talking to. Or at least see that, where my up and coming financial goals will at least bring me to that point. Because I don't want to put myself in a situation where, if you're not confident, if you don't feel good about yourself, it's not going to work anyways. So it's like just wasting your time and energy to pursue somebody that is outside of your range. Let's see. Other reasons is like lifestyle and culture. So I don't really drink. So I know everybody goes out to the bars, everybody drinks. I've had hot young women ask me to go to the bar, ask me to go out and drink, and I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I don't want to date somebody that goes out and parties all the time. To me, that has no place in a healthy relationship. Another red flag is, say, a girl, all of her friends are strippers or OnlyFans people. That's a big red flag because you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Like, if I'm wanting to take a woman seriously, I want to see that she has at least one married friend, hangs out, has some friends that are in long-term relationships. If her friends work at 6th Avenue and OnlyFans, then that's a big red flag. She's going to be partying with them. There's no healthy relationship available.
An atmosphere
in
that
those
you...
lifestyles. So some people care about tattoos and piercings. That's not a big deal for me, but it can get a little overboard sometimes. Like, I don't want my grandma to see you if you got some curse words tatted on your neck, or I think sometimes the gauges get so big it's not really classy. That's a personal preference thing, but during the mask area, I did ghost one girl because she looked super hot with the mask on. Took it off, and it's misleading, and that's sad that I'm so shallow, but at the same time, realistically, they've done studies, and 80% of what men are looking for in women is attractiveness. So while women are more well-rounded in what they generally look for in men, one of the main things that men are looking for is attractiveness. So I've always gave myself a hard time for being shallow, but now that I'm understanding men's nature, I don't really feel as bad about it. And like I said, everybody has their different standards.
Can I speak on that real quick?
Sure, please.
So yeah, I think that, you know, for a women's standpoint, attractiveness is anytime. I mean, because you have to be attracted in some way, shape, or form, especially to continue in your bedroom life and all the things you want to be attracted to that person in one shape or form. But if you have, like, for me, non-negotiable would be like teeth. Mm-hmm. And you're obviously talking about that with a mask. It's something, I mean, because when you look at someone, you look straight at their teeth. Can that be fixed? Yes. Do you want to go to someone and be like, you have, you know, a messed up grill? Obviously, no, you don't. But, I mean, if it's something that's not super horrible, rotten, whatever, then yes. A lot of people can't help it. There you're going through financial, you know, whatever. I don't know, but I just wanted to touch on that too.
Yeah. That's some important, like you're saying, non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody is different on that. Not everybody's teeth, but everybody has something that's non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. And, okay. Yeah, and I mean, another thing that's more nuanced is the masculine, feminine nature nowadays. I think, myself included, men are generally more feminine and women are generally more masculine than previous. Sometimes that gets out of hand and the dynamic can make it hard for a relationship to work. If both people are trying to be masculine, then it's just going to be fighting, because one of the things about femininity is agreeableness. If both people are disagreeable, then I mean, you can't compromise, you can't work on anything. I don't necessarily want to get too much into that. I think you know a bit about that subject and have probably more experience of how that plays out in a relationship. Is there anything you want to add about that?
Yeah, I mean, you can be. I will say, you know, I was very independent because I was single for so long. So I was in a mother. So I've always been used to being a mom and a dad, so I picked up that masculine a lot. And a lot of men say the women wears the pants in the relationship. However, the man is supposed to be the head of the household. Women are to submit. And it has been difficult in a lot of aspects in my marriage for me to submit, because it's what I'm used to. It's what I fall back on. But we compromise there. And I make sure that I always come to him before I make a final decision. I mean, with everything, we talk about it first. A lot of times I'm like, yep, this is what we're doing, boom, 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 you know, and he's like, along with the way, where sometimes he probably would like to have an input and doesn't necessarily get that sometimes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think because we just got to accept that we're all working on it, you know, society has not made men shaped us to be the most masculine versions of ourselves, and it's not shaped women to be the most feminine versions of themselves. But once you understand the dynamics in relationship, like you're saying, then that's something to work towards and to know about yourself. But I think a lot of people don't even know this dynamic exists and have no idea that they should even work on, either being more masculine or more feminine, depending on...
I think that men are afraid to show their soft side, first and foremost, and that needs to be shown. That needs to be, you know, shared with their significant other. Because I know in my past, you see men, they're hard and they're like, and they don't want to let that side down of them. And that's what can cause issues, that can cause fights, to be more compassionate to the other person and lovable. I mean, there is a fine line, because then they're like, well, they're a female and da-da-da-da. But yes, men need to be compassionate and allow their feminine side to come out. Females need to see that. Mm. They do.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Just probably to feel more heard or safe, or, you know, I see what you're saying. I've had issues with opening up to people, and then as soon as you get in a fight, they'll just pick whatever one of your deepest, darkest insecurities, and they'll just throw it at you. I don't know. So what some people will recommend is that having a group of male friends that you can talk to about those situations, and not necessarily come to your woman and express your weaknesses to them. But I'm not really sure what is the right answer in this situation.
I think it's good to have someone to talk to that you can super trust, because it's good to release things, not to your significant other, and know that they're not going to go and tell that person, this person, that person, and allow people to know what's going on inside of your four walls. But it's good to be able to communicate with somebody else, yes.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, we're all just doing our best. We're learning and we're sharing what we learn. And I mean, nobody's perfect. Every relationship is different. Everybody's coming from a different starter point. Just trying to do our best to learn what we can about the dynamics between men and women so that people can have healthier relationships overall. So, I mean, as long as you're trying and doing your best and learning and, being considerate, because if you don't, I think that's one of the keys to relationships is understanding. Because for me, I've not really understood all the differences between men and women, what women are more looking for certain things and men are more looking for other things, and I just kind of went from treat people how you want to be treated thing, and which that's a very good thing to do, but at the same time you should also be aware of the differences. Some things are more important to women, some things are more important to men, so it's really a lot of understanding.
Ultimately, I think it boils down to, when I was younger, I wasn't looking for husband material. Getting married and all the things wasn't really in my forefront. But why go through 10 different relationships? Ultimately, that's your goal. Ultimately, you're to become grown and be married, settle down, have children. And so if you look going into or talking to someone, initially, are they wife material? Are they husband material? And I think that my mom told me, you should never go to bed with someone until you know that you want to, ultimately, you're not supposed to have sex before marriage, first and foremost. If we're going to talk biblical and I have a relationship with God. So knowing what I know now, would I have done that? However, I didn't do that. So biblically, you're not to have sex before marriage. It's very important to know someone's heart first and foremost. And if you have a sexual relationship, before you even know that you love that person or don't love that person, you go off of feelings rather than your heart. And that's where most people go wrong. They get attached to the sexual rather than to the person.
Right, you can't see clearly.
Yeah, you can't.
It's like,
you can't. You hinder your relationship, to be quite honest.
It's like the drunk goggles are on. You just see what you want to see, kind of deny what you don't want to see until it becomes too...
My mom always told me, make a man want to love you for you and your heart rather than your vagina.
Wow. That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying about, biblically that is ideal. I think if you look at what makes healthy relationships, studies show that, statistically, if you want a long-lasting marriage, it is best for both partners to be virgins when they get married, and the statistics show after that how possibility of successful marriage decreases with more people that you have been with. So that's one thing I never realized as a kid. I don't think very many people realize our culture is really not about saving it for marriage, but I think if younger generations want to have kids, ideally, all the science shows that kids are best off in a two-parent married household.
Yep.
I mean, that's the stable foundation for well-being. So I think as a society we have to look and think, do I want to have kids? And if so, we have to realize that it is our responsibility to try our best to do that within marriage. And yeah, that's not how society is, but we could set that as a goal, and maybe it'll take us a long time to get there. But that's how culture changes, is when people see the need for change. And I think as a society, we all got to see like the mental health thing going on. People need a more stable foundation to grow from, and as conscious individuals, I think we have to do our best to make marriage a thing again. Make it
absolutely
the standard for having kids again. Because I'm not saying you can't be a good parent outside of a marriage, but I mean, if you want the best for your kids, the best thing is for them to grow up inside a marriage. And most people aren't capable of a healthy marriage. So I'm not saying you should just rush in and get married to somebody, but I think everyone should work on themselves. You know, like we were talking about our transformations over the years. You've transformed a lot to where you are capable of a happy, healthy marriage. And I think that's a good example for the rest of us. Like, we all got to work on ourselves, and if we want what's best for the future of humanity, we have to be the best versions of ourselves and make sure we learn to deal with other people, and that we're capable of healthy relationships and a healthy marriage. And
absolutely,
I think we got to make sure we set examples for the next generations, because they're not really getting a lot of examples of that. So a lot of work is on our generation to change.
And I want to say this because we did touch on it. You know, if you have had sex and you've had sex with multiple people, you're probably thinking, well, if I wait with moving forward before I find my husband, what if the sex is horrible? Here's the thing. If you love a person, regardless, you'll make that work. It will come to where you won't have that issue. You know what I mean? And if you wait until marriage, you have no idea whether it be. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's where it's a curse. I feel led to talk about this. You know, the Bible states. No sex before marriage. So if you have sex before marriage, then it can be cursed.
Right, and I mean, studies show this, but my experience shows this too. The more people you sleep with, I mean, everybody you touch, even, you draw something from them, but sleeping with is more intimate. And really, you're kind of like building up trauma. And I hate to say this, but I was a very promiscuous person, and it gets to a point where you're just kind of numb, and you're not really enjoying life. It's just, you don't really want to be numb to life. So like, I took a year of being celibate. I was like, I gotta clear all this away. I don't want to repeat any of this toxic stuff over again. And if I do get in a healthy relationship, I don't want to bring all this other stuff with me. That's not fair for the other person. It just adds a bunch of work. So, I mean, I think being aware that everybody you sleep with is contributing to your decline in mental health, honestly. Once you become aware of that, then it's easier to adjust how you operate and what your goals are in dating. Because ideally, most people would be much happier in a emotionally stable marriage. Because it's emotionally unstable hookup culture, running around, not knowing if somebody's going to talk to you, if they're hooking up with somebody else, all this. Like, think about it, it's very emotionally unstable. And if you look at different cultures who don't have that promiscuous culture, somebody was pointing out that Chinese people, Indian people, and Jewish people tend to do really well at the top universities because they have different cultural values. They're not whereas Americans in school are generally a lot of times working, they're dating, they're getting their heart broke, all of this stuff, and people that don't come from a promiscuous culture, come from more family-oriented cultures, seem to do better about accomplishing that college and staying focused and getting their degree, and then having that emotional stability, and then they got financial stability, and that gives you a better foundation for any relationship after that. So I think one of the big things is kind of hookup culture and American culture. So you have to look at other cultures to see, because if you just growing up in American culture, you don't really think about it. You think it's normal, you know.
Right.
You think everybody's partying, everybody's hooking up. It is what it is. Like I came from a family that tried to teach me values, but everything I saw around me was debauchery, I believe is the word. So yeah, when you look at other cultures, you can see the harm of promiscuous culture, and that it's really, there's no health available, there's no wellness available within hookup culture. So we gotta learn how to do things differently, and we gotta learn about ourselves and grow.
Absolutely.
So I think you already answered a lot of what makes a marriage work. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yes. You know, put God in the center. Put God in the center. He is your foundation. You know, in a marriage, 2 strands or 3 strands with God in the middle cannot be broken as a braid. And so as long as God is in the center of your relationship, your life, your marriage, then those strands can't be broken. And if he's not the foundation, then what is your foundation?
Right.
So ultimately, you know, it made me go through life. I've failed forward many a times. I tried to do it Tiffany's way. I tried to, it took me down the road of drugs. It took me down a road of many different things until God kept knocking, and I went closer. Not saying that each time I went, I mean, I seen the hand of God over 8 years ago, and I didn't want to follow, and I continued to still struggle. I was on the struggle bus. But the moment that I stepped back and got to know myself, got to love myself, got to set my past to the side, I drew closer to him. My husband appeared just, in my life, and my life has it been amazing? No, I have joy in my heart because of God, and we have joy in our life because of it. Life isn't perfect because God is a part, but you can still have joy with him and get through the trials and all the things with the faith of a mustard seed with him, which can continue to grow and grow, and then you have unshakable faith.
Nice. Yeah, I appreciate your wisdom. Cause a lot of people are trying to figure out what makes a marriage work, what is. Most people don't really have much experience with a healthy relationship, either seeing one or being in one. So I really appreciate you sharing what you shared, and the only thing got left is advice for young women and men. I mean, we could start with health advice and go to financial advice.
Yeah. So if you struggle with mental health, anything in today's world, in our culture, in America, our food is horrible. And there's chemicals, there's preservatives, there's this, there's that. And if you tend to lean what God put on this earth for us to digest and not man-made food, chips, all the chocolate, like all the stuff, energy drinks. Like,
oh my gosh.
When you see monster, it's symbolization. It's there. It's the red writing is on the wall. You know what I mean? And if you go and live a great nutritional life, your gut is the center of everything. It is a second brain to our bodies. When you put that trash food in your body, then it signals to your brain and to other parts of your body. It creates the autoimmune diseases. It creates the brain fog, the mental health all of the things, it stems from your gut. So a nutrition life, you know, having a routine. First yourself, because if you're not okay, then no one around you is okay. And so if you aren't waking up and doing personal development, personal you, whether that's exercise, that's meditation, whether that's just going for a walk, you need to do that. And then you need to eat a healthy, balanced meal. Don't overeat, eat the right things. It's going to put you into a better walk of life, period. And when you start to change that, you'll start to see things shift.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, that's one of the foundations for health, you know, is what you eat, and most people aren't very informed or educated on that, but I think you got quite a bit of experience with that. And don't you provide supplements also?
I do. So I am an entrepreneurship in the health and wealth community of plant-based supplements. We are well known for our liquid collagen. Collagen is huge. At the age of 25, we start to deplete, and our body is to have that. So once it's gone, we need to supplement that. So supplementing it is going to help your joints, your bones, your muscles, aging. You're going to start back to reverse your age.
I've seen my friend use it, and I mean, she's looking younger, her sister's using it. I mean, it's helped them both a lot.
Yep.
I'm not that familiar with collagen myself, but I mean, I know two people personally who it's made a big difference in their life.
And then we talk about gut, you know, again, if you aren't eating what God, you know, intended us for us to eat, you know, say for yourself, food is huge. So we like what we like, unfortunately, because it's been put in our face, our taste buds, our body. And sometimes we tend to binge and go for that.
Oh, it's so easy to do.
But even eating healthy, we don't eat or drink kombucha. We don't eat sauerkraut every single day. That has those living enzymes to break down our foods, release of the body. So we have an amazing gut supplement, and it's life. I cannot go without it. Which again is going to be gut health. So it's going to really help open your mindset, open your mental health, allow everything to flow, go to the bathroom on a normal, regular basis. So, yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. So maybe I should give a little bit of health advice before we move on. For me, one of the biggest things is eating fruits. They're generally high in vitamin C, antioxidants. They improve your mood, your brain function, good for your digestive health, which is saying the gut health is highly correlated with your mental health. And actually, one thing I've learned, and I did a video on it previously, but about vitamin C for mental health, found out vitamin C is actually necessary for the production of serotonin. So, I mean, that's another reason to eat fruits. You could get supplements as well. I'm a fruit eater. But also exercise is part of the health and nutrition, and like anybody going through a mental health struggle, two big things for a foundation I would say is one, eat more fruit, two, exercise regularly. I do push-ups and crunches and stuff I could do at home. I know some people like to go to the gym, some people want a personal trainer, some people don't have time, and maybe they'd be better off with my workout routine of just 15 minutes at home, and I'm sore all day. So, but yeah, that's a good foundation because exercise helps balance your hormones, just helps you to be all around more balanced person, happier. I know people that used to be addicted to going to the gym because, I mean, it releases endorphins, and naturally humans were meant to work for everything we've had physically, and now we're not necessarily, most people, doing much physical work. Yeah. So, I mean, just 15, 20 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes or however long you got to do it, whether you go to the gym or at home, everybody needs some sort of physical activity. If not a daily routine, at least 2-3 times a week minimum, just to stay physically active. I mean, or you can go walking regularly, play tennis regularly, play basketball. Play is a good way to exercise because then you don't even think about your exercising.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, boxing, any of these things could be hobbies that are good for your mental health and just help you to develop as a person. So, another thing I wanted to go over is like financial advice. And there's two sides of that. There's career, if you have any advice for people going into a career or whatever, and then the other thing is side income, because nowadays a lot of people need side income and don't want to or can't rely on just their career to get ahead.
Right. For someone walking into your career or their career, basically have the mindset that you only buy what you bring in or what cash on hand that you can spend, because America is in debt, really. And if you can save yourself from getting into debt, definitely. If it's a want but you don't have the money, don't get it. If it's a need, you'll make sure that you have the money for those needs, right?
Good.
And then, of course, we're going through a recession right now, and it's probably one of the worst ones our country has ever faced, even in all times. So what I will say with that is, yes, having a side hustle or a second stream of income is very important. Whether you're married, you have two incomes or not. If you are someone that enjoys to go on vacation or whatever, you need that. I was reading the other day, and $7,500 is the average that's been taken out of every single person's home. Yeah. So having a side income or a second stream of income, adding that into your normal life, and that's probably just to maintain what you were used to, right? And not feeling like you're really, really struggling. It's super important. So make sure you find something that you are passionate about, you enjoy. I have found mine, in fact, it has been able to allow me to, it's turned from a side income to my career, and walk away from corporate world. And I love it, and I'm passionate about it, and yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. You're a great example of how side income can become a career, because now you're making more at your side income than a lot of people make in their careers. And
I do.
You're helping other people as well, so that's got to be rewarding.
Yes, it's amazing.
And you have more freedom also, correct?
Yeah, I have, and that's ultimately where we're at, because right now, husband and wife is out there, beating themselves against the wall just to make ends meet. And for me, I am able to go to my daughter's games. I'm able to be around my husband. I'm able to be there and help with dinner or those sort of things that time freedom is given, So time freedom is huge. You can work your life away outside of the home and never growing. Yes, you can get a bonus here or, possibly a dollar raise or something like that. But if you ultimately want to become a millionaire, you got to find other ways.
Right.
Corporate CEO, unless you're a CEO of a company, but it's hard to move up that chain to get there. So, and most people don't have that today.
It's true. I think you're right. That is a side income where it's scalable and you can grow. And that's one thing. I'm not super rich or successful or anything like that, but I've been studying people who are, and one of the things they recommend is, say, like sales. If you get into sales, you can move to high ticket sales, but really everything is selling. I mean, everything is. If you want to convince somebody to do something that's in their best interest, you have to sell them on it. I mean, it's not necessarily a dirty word, sales, where you're trying to take advantage of people, but just to get somebody to do something that's in their best interest, you have to point out, pretty much sell it to them.
It's more on educating because everybody, here's the thing, if you love Starbucks, you go to social media and you're like, oh my gosh, this white chocolate mocha is absolutely amazing. You're doing entrepreneurship. You are selling that Starbucks to your friends and family, but you aren't getting paid for that.
Ah,
Yeah.
good point. And that's making me think about like merchandise. I'm wanting to sell merchandise soon. I should be wearing my own shirts with my own logos and not wearing the Nike logo or whatever brand I'm wearing. If I want to sell merchandise, I need to always have my merchandise on. And
Absolutely.
yeah, great point. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you're more of a financial expert than me.
Just look into, we can get 401ks and all the things from our jobs, but ultimately, do you know more than that? Are you setting yourself up for, here's a prime example. You can have a 401k and you're going through life, but what if you had an option to pay $200 a month to bank but not have to pay taxes on or interest, and say 15 years down the line you want to build your own home or you need $30,000, something catastrophic happens in your life and you need that, you've now paid $200 a month into an IUL, okay, and you forgot about it.
What does IUL stand for?
Good question. You would ask me that off the top of my head.
Well, so you'll be leaving your information if people want
Yes.
to contact you and ask you more questions. So I'm sure you can answer that for people.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
They have, more questions for you.
But it's a compound life insurance policy, basically.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I've heard great things about life insurance and compound interest. Is that the eighth wonder of the world? Is that what Warren Buffett said? Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. I need to learn more about that too. I'm gonna have to talk to her after the podcast. Sweet. So I really appreciate you being here. I think you provide a lot of value for the viewers. I think everybody can learn something. I definitely learned stuff, and I'm very grateful for your time, Tiffany. I'm grateful for everybody that tuned in, and I hope you all got value from this content too. And I think we're happy to share with people.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for having me. I
Sweet.
appreciate that.
You're awesome, Tiffany. Thank you.